this tutorial, I will show you how to make the red chunky cardigan I'm wearing. I have listed timestamps in the description box below if you'd like to jump to certain sections. Thanks for checking this video out. Please leave me a like or a comment if you have any questions. Thanks! Welcome to this tutorial where I will show you how you can recreate your own chunky knit cardigan. You can do the mini version like this one where it's short, it hits your waist, or you can do the long duster version like the big green one I did. A couple things you will need to get started is you're going to need some chunky yarn. I would recommend between 5 to 7 skeins. This one I worked in 5, the bigger one was about 6 to 7. And then those are based on my sizes. So if you consider that if you're about my size or if you want to go a little bit larger, you might need more. The yarn that I used for this one, I used Yarn Bee. This is available at Hobby Lobby. And then the green one, I used Bernat Big Blanket yarn. And they both work great. I will say the Hobby Lobby one is a little bit, you get less yardage per skein. So also consider that. Another thing you'll need to get started is the measuring tape. This will just help you determine how many to cast on your first row. So let me talk a little bit about how the cardigan is worked. You're going to start working on the back side, and you're going to work all the way up to your neck. At the neck, we're going to split it into 2 sections, and then we're going to work one front panel, cast off, work the other front panel, cast off, and then you will have one big piece that's the back and the front pieces together. We're going to lay that flat. We're going to pick up seams on the side and work the sleeves up. So you're going to be attaching the sleeves right away to the main piece. We're going to repeat that on the other side, and then at the end we're going to seam up the sides from the bottom to the armpit under the sleeve, and then we'll repeat that again. And after that, you will tuck in any loose ends, weave them in, cut them off, and you'll be all done. Couple things to consider and to note on this is that everybody knits differently. You can have your tension be different, and I'll talk about that a little bit in the tutorial. But for this project, that's very important, just because the thickness of this yarn and the weight of it, I would say. So you don't want to knit too tight, or you may want to. I guess if you knit very tight, you're not going to have any little holes, which is perfectly fine, but you need to consider that when you're casting on, how tight and loose you're going to knit. I will say you don't want to knit too loose because this yarn is very heavy. The sleeves are heavy, not heavy unbearable, but it has weight to it, so that when you're wearing it, the sleeves are going to pull the yarn down and give you gaps. So here I really did not knit loose at all. You can see there is gaps, which is not bad. I think it still is a very cute cardigan, and it's actually kind of nice because this yarn is very thick and, you know, dense. It almost gives you some breathability when you're wearing it, which feels good. So just keep that in mind as you're working your way through. You don't want to be too tight because you want to be able to get your finger in there and pull the yarn through, and then you don't want to be too loose because the end product, you're going to be wearing it, it's going to have some weight to it. It's naturally going to pull at the stitches. So you don't want it to be like huge holes, like big holes. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so let's get started. You'll need your tape measure. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to find the measurement of our shoulders. So I'm not even picking my shoulders. I'm picking a little bit below, kind of like considering where my arm length is. So about here, it doesn't have to be exact, just like relatively close. Okay, and I'm getting about 21 inches. So whatever number you get, I would add at least 3 to 4 inches. So I got 21, let's make it an even number. I'm gonna add 3 inches, about 24. That way, I know at 24, that's how long my first row needs to be. Because this cardigan has a drop sleeve, you need to consider that you have your shoulder, right? And then you want to add a little bit of inches so that you have these extra stitches that you could work, because your sleeve doesn't start until further down. So that's what all you need to do. Get your rough estimate of your shoulders. Mine was 21. I'm going to add 3 additional inches, 24. I'll say that whatever number you cast on, my cast on number is going to be 16. Whatever number you cast on, make sure it's even. And then also account for your neck area. So in my case, I'm taking 4 stitches for my neck area. You can do a test gauge of how big you think you need to do. So 4 stitches is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 is about that big. And then if you put that to your neck, okay, I think that's enough room for my neck. So that's how I came up with 4. We're all different. So whatever size you think is appropriate for you, that's the size you should go with. And again, just pick an even number of stitches to cast on. You can also, once you get your first cast on row, put it up to your body. It needs to close off your torso and a little bit extra so that the cardigan's not skin tight. Okay, so that's all you really need to know to get started, and we're gonna just jump right into it. I just tie a knot. I don't really think it matters too much. Okay, and then we're gonna do 16 stitches total. So there's 1, and you just pull through 2. So you can tell by like the loop. So here's 1, and this is 2. Then 3, and then kind of loose. You don't want too tight, and then you don't want too loose as well. So you gotta find the right tension. That's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Just adjusting the tension here. 8, 9, 10. 11, 12. Let me count that again. So you can always count by the holes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, let me just double check. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so I did 1 extra. Okay, so you have 16. So that's 16, and basically this is going to be your back piece. That's what we're starting with, and you're going to knit the rows for as long as you want the cardigan to be. So I'm going for more of like a waist length cardigan here, and I'm just gonna get started. So if you've done a blanket, chunky blanket before, you know, you just repeat the same rows going back and forth. Whereas in like traditional knitting, you would do a knit row and then you do a purl row. So we're just going to be doing knitting. And I think some helpful tips is to work on a table. It's a lot easier to keep this flat and kind of helps the process. So what I like to do is get my yarn and kind of lay it out so that it's easier to grab as I go. And then you might want to have a piece of paper or something to track. I'm gonna have my sticky note, I have my pen, and then you can count the cast on as 1. So we have 1 done, and then we'll just mark as we go. So, and then these are pretty simple. You just have your yarn and you find the loop, the one that we use to count how many stitches we have, and you're going to pull it through and keep it flat. So then here we just went through this loop, we're gonna go through the next one and pull it through, and then just keep repeating that till you get to the end. So always, if you see, it's kind of like a braid here, so it's always the top loop, and you pull it through here. There's 2 points, but you want to pick the top one. And same here. And then I'm trying to keep them not too tight and not too loose. And I know that's like, well, how do you know? You want to be able to like slide your finger in easily, and you don't want it too loose because then you're gonna have big holes. With a project this size, the yarn is kind of heavy, especially if you're wearing it. So what's going to happen is it's going to pull down the seam. So if you are starting and making these very loose to begin with, when you're wearing it, it's going to just even open up even more and look even looser. So just keep that in mind as you go. Okay, we should have 16, and I always go back and count because I feel like I just forget. So we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Okay, cool. So we got another row done. We'll mark that. And then basically you just keep repeating until you reach your desired length. So for the big green one that I did 40 rows. So we'll just keep going here. Let's do another row together. 1, and just pull through. And then once you have a couple rows done, it does get a little bit quicker to work. And then also working on a table is helpful because then you can pull these to the same height, and that's how you kind of know that your tension is the same. So we'll just keep pulling through. Try to keep everything flat so you don't lose any stitches. Okay, and then don't forget to mark. Otherwise, you can always go back and count, but I just feel like it's easier to mark as you go. I actually really like this color. It's red, but in person it's more pinky. So it's really cute. Anyway, as you can see, it's pretty easy to keep going here. So now we have some shape to it, starting to form. That was 4. Let's do one more together, and then I'll leave you to it to keep going. So basically go until you find the length that you want. Measure it on yourself, see if you like where it's fitting. And then if it is, then that's the last row you're gonna work on the back, and then we'll come back together and I'll show you how to split it at the neck and work on the front panels. So here is this row done. Very simple and easy to do. So keep going until you reach the length that you want, and we'll meet back to work on the area where the neck splits. So welcome back. You should be at the point where you have found how long you want it. Again, I'm making this one a little bit shorter, just to have a nice like spring one. So here you're at the point where you're ready to split the back panel, and we're going to work 2 sections to start the neck and then the front panels. So here I have about 16 rows done. Again, I'm making a short one, and it's going to be different for everybody, really just based on how tense you are knitting. I'm going to roll this bottom piece up a little bit so we can see what we're doing up here. So basically what we're going to do is I have 16 stitches, and we are going to find the center of our back piece. So 16, so that should be, I'm gonna count from out 2, 4, 6, and then these are my 4. So in the beginning I talked about how to determine how many stitches you need for your neck piece, and for me I determined that that was 4. So what's going to happen is I'm going to cast these off, and then the remaining pieces are going to be starting of the front panels. So to do the cast off here, you're going to find however many stitches you determined for your neck, and you're going to cast them off from the center out. Now this is where it gets a little bit more technical, I would say, because you can traditionally just start casting off like this and this, but then you're gonna have a weird split here if you do that. So what I like to do is I'm gonna find my 2 center stitches, and I'm actually gonna go put one inside of the other, like so. Now it's gonna be a little tight here now, but this point is gonna be more secure than if I left it like this and cast it off. You're gonna have like a weird hole here. So what I like to do, it doesn't matter which one, but you just put one inside of the other, cross them over, and now we're ready to cast off. So you're gonna cast off in both directions. And then the side that has the tail that's still attached to the yarn ball, you're gonna leave 7 in my case. Or if you're doing not 16 stitches, you're gonna leave an odd number, and on the other side, you're gonna leave an even number. So the side with the ball is gonna have 1 extra stitch left out compared to the side that does not have the ball. So we're just gonna go ahead and start. So let's do the side that doesn't have the ball. So this is our center piece. Let's just do that again. We put 1 stitch in the other. That means this one has to go here. So just inside. Okay. And how many? And that leaves 7. So we need to do 1 more on this side. So this stitch goes into here. Okay, and now we have 6 on this side, and we're gonna leave it like that. And then this side is the side that does not have the yarn attached to it anymore. So when we go back to work on it, we're gonna add in the new yarn. Okay, and then this side, we wanna leave 7 stitches. So we're gonna cast off here. How many does that leave me? That leaves me with 7. So, and I will show you why we're doing that. Little sticky note ready to start tracking. So I basically do the same number of stitches that I did on the back side for the front side. So in my case, I did 16. I'm gonna do the same thing for this panel here. So we're just going to go ahead and start. So remember, we have 7, or I have the odd, this is the odd number side. So when we get to the last 2, we have to do something special. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now 6 and 7, you're actually going to knit them together. If I could get my hand in there, and just knit those 2 together. There you go, and now we have 6. So that was really the only main difference here, just knitting those last 2 together. And the reason for that, if you want to know, is that's the cleanest way you can get it, where it still will look pretty seamless going forward. So that's just a little trick there. So now I'm gonna go ahead and just keep going. So let me get my sticky note out. I'm gonna mark 1, and I'm gonna do 16. So for now, the other side that has the 6 that are loose, just leave it there. We're gonna go back to that after we get this side done. And then this side you should be able to fly through, especially after doing the back. You'll find, you know, working the front panels is a lot quicker. So again, just pull these through and keep going. Mark, mark, mark. And so once you get to the end of the rows, so again, I did the same number that I did for the back. So I did 16 on the back, I did 16 on the this front panel, and now I'm just going to cast off. So you put one inside the other, pull through, and then you always go towards the tail. So start away from the tail and work your way towards it. And then the last one, you have this left, and you just put the tail through it and pull it through. And then try not to do this too tight, just because you want the knitted pieces to have some room and be a little bit more square. Okay, so now that's done. The other side that we left hanging out here, so I still have 6 stitches. That's good. We're gonna grab a new ball of yarn. And a trick, if you don't know, is to pull the yarn from the inside, as it's easier to come off the skein. So now here, what we're going to do is attach this yarn, and you're going to start from the neck and work your way out. So this is pretty simple. I literally just pull it through and make a loop, and then that's that. So in the end, when everything's done and I'm tying in loose ends, I'll make sure I tie this in, but I don't like knot it or anything right now. So again, we're just going to continue making our knitted rows, the same number that we did on the other panel. In my case, that's 16. That's what I'm going to do here. One, one, two, so just keep going until you get to the same length, and then we can cast off together. Let's see, my yarn's a little tangled here. Okay, so like I said before, always start away from the tail. So in this case, I'm going to start on the outside and work my way in. And then just go pick one under, pull it through the other one. And then when you get to the end, and go ahead and cut the tail if you need to. I need to because I still have a lot of yarn left, and pull that tail through the last loop. Okay, at this point you actually have a majority of the cardigan done. We're gonna start working on the sleeves. So for the sleeves, it's important. So what I'm doing here is I'm folding it in half so that I can see where my neck starts, which is like the top of your shoulder. So you want to find that piece and kind of mark it. Just so flip it on its side and go to the edge and just mark where that crease is. I'm just gonna tie it loosely. This is gonna get tied off or cut off shortly. So as I know, so we fold it in half. We are finding the place where the top of the cardigan is. This is where it rests on your shoulder. So you want to mark that, where that very top piece is. Now, once we have it marked, we're going to open this up. I'm going to fold the bottom over here so I have some room to work. So now we found our center point, and this is going to be our stitch 1. Then we're going to go 5 out towards the right and 5 out towards the left. So a total of 11 stitches. Yeah, So we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This could be 1. It doesn't have to be exactly there because I actually marked it like here. So, okay. And you want to consider, like, you don't necessarily need to do it in each space. You can do 2 stitches in a space if you want to. You just kind of want to see how that looks on your cardigan. But sometimes you might want to put 2 stitches in a space just so that this isn't going too far down on the cardigan. But that's just something up to you. So I have the end of my yarn, and I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to pick it up in a loop. I will go back in at the end and tie all that together. So we're going to pick up 11. So we got 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to kind of skip this one. 4, 5. And I'm just gonna keep going. I'll leave this one. Let's see, let me take it out now that we know where we started. So we got what? 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, let me go here. I'll do 7. Sorry, these are getting a little loose here. So we got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So there's our first row, and then you're going to go for as many rows as you need to. On my large one, I did 15 rows, but I feel like I have long arms, so you know, do a couple rows and see if that fits good on you. If you want to do longer, maybe you want shorter sleeves so that if you're wearing it, like, your sleeves aren't getting in the way. Or you might like shorter ones, or maybe you like the look where it's like covering your hands a little bit. So that's all about preference. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start working on the second row. And here, just be careful not to drop these stitches. So I'm kind of using my other hand to squish them down before I can grab them. And then my recommendation is when you get to the end of that second row that you would do, just go ahead and count again. Make sure you have the same number. So we have 11 here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Yeah. Okay. And then you just keep going. Okay, I think 15 is perfect. So I did 15 rows. I'm going to cast off. So to do that, we're going to start at the end, away from the tail. And you always take the one that you're casting off, put it inside the loop, and bring it forward. Here we go. This one goes inside, and then it becomes a new loop. And that is done. So now, congratulations, you have the whole thing basically done. And here is the fun part, is putting it together and weaving in the ends. So the way you're gonna put it together is lay it out flat. Okay, so there it is, all laid out. And you're gonna work one side at a time, up the side towards the armpit and then under the sleeve, and then you'll be done. So I'll show you how I do that. You're looking for the horizontal bar. So we have our perfect braid here, and then if you look to the left of it, you can see the horizontal. That's where you're gonna go ahead and run the thread through. Okay, then we go and look on the other side, and it's kind of a lot easier to see. You're like, okay, there it is, there it is. So you might need to move the yarn around a little bit to see it. Okay. And then we'll just keep going. And again, I picked a longer piece of yarn because I wanted to go ahead and be just one piece that I used to sew up the sides. Okay, so it's kind of hard to see right now what's going on, but just trust the process. So again, if you take this and you look at this, this is your perfect braid, and then you have this little piece. So anything that's horizontal, that's where you want to go ahead and put your yarn through. Same thing again, your perfect braid, and then if you look on the side, there is, like, it almost looks like half a braid. And then you just find the horizontal bar and run the yarn under that. Okay, so now I feel like we're at the sleeve, and it's basically just the same thing. You're going to have a nice braid, and then you're going to have a little piece on the side, and the piece on the side is what you're picking up. So here, and also this is the armpit, so you're not really ever going to see this part. So if you make a mistake here, it's not really a big deal, but just focus on picking up the side pieces. So here, so now we're at the sleeve. So here's where we started. So we can go ahead and run it through there. And then on the other one, we're still kind of not so much on the sleeve yet. So we want to find that braid, which is here, and the little horizontal bar is right there. Okay. And then just keep working it. Okay, we're almost to the end here. So just keep looking for that horizontal and pulling it through. And then you can give it a nice tighten. So I'm kind of pulling it. You don't want to pull too hard because this yarn you can rip. So just like that. And then you can get to the end here, give yourself a little bit of a tail to be able to weave it in, but you'll get to the end. And here you can just, you see kind of it's still splitting, so I'll use the existing tail. I'll run it this way, I'll use our new tail, and I'll run it under that. And then you can just maneuver some of these so they look a little bit more equal. Then you have two tails, and basically what I'll do from here is I'll tuck them in to the inside. See, and tuck anything else in on the inside on this side. So we have one in the armpit, tuck that in. And then you can go ahead to the inside, turn it inside out, and basically weave in any loose ends. And then you'll do the same steps on the outside, or you'll do the same steps on the other sleeve, and you'll be done. If you've made it this far and you have your own chunky cardigan, I would love to see it. Please tag me in my socials mentioned below. Otherwise, stay tuned for more videos to come.